wait, am I noticing a jealousy in the time spent or not being had? Am I noticing that my partner is checking out, and what is checking out? They might not be checking out of the marriage, but are they on their phone more often than they used to be?
Good.
Are they trying to hurry up and, you know, do all the honey-do lists, do dishes, laundry, diapers, change, get everything fixed so that they can go to the garage or the man cave? Like what are those indicators? Because sometimes those are key indicators that are saying, hey, I think we need a marriage reset.
That's good.
So growing up, what was your favorite? What was your go-to Saturday morning cartoon? What were you waiting for? What was that like? Or during midweek, what were you like waiting to watch?
What? So you do know how old I am.
Yeah, you had the black and you had the black and whites with the little knobs, huh?
That's not fair. That's disrespectful.
Or was it the antenna and you had to?
No, there was like we had like He-Man. Oh man, He-Man, Fraggle Rock.
You had a Thundercats, huh?
Thundercats.
Thundercats
Oh,
was dope. Yeah. Thundercats was dope.
That's it. Thundercats.
Did you ever watch Gargoyle?
I did.
Did you
But that was like Gargoyle was like during the week though.
Yeah.
Like that would be like with like what is that duck? It's not Donald Duck, it's Donald Duck's uncle, but it's not Scrooge.
It's not Scrooge, I know,
It's
but it had like the three little.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
That one. Yeah, that was like during the week.
Okay.
But yeah, so like that was like our Saturday mornings. But you know, honestly, like my Saturday mornings we would get to watch stuff, but my dad was like, we about to clean. So like, yeah. So like we would literally get up on a Saturday morning.
Evil man.
Right. No. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah, my bad,
daddy.
Pops. Love you. R.I.P.
Like literally, like we literally like he would like get us up on a Saturday morning. We would like be able to watch like some of our shows, but then we would like Saturday was for cleaning. That's why I have like the Saturdays are for cleaning with our house.
That's where it comes from. I was like, oh, that'd just be cool to, you know,
No, we're not sleeping in. We gotta clean up. Like literally it was Saturday morning cleanup.
Wow.
And like would be out. Oh, I don't want to say it. My brother, he would be out like
No, put him out there
I
now.
know. Oh gosh.
What was he doing?
He would be doing the lawn, and then like me and like would be inside, and then like I remember like my
dad. Him outside?
Yeah, and then no, we would have to go outside too. It was like
Okay.
a family thing. Like I don't have a green thumb or anything like that, but it was like definitely a thing.
Okay.
And then we would go there, and then like I would have to like do bills. Like that's my dad taught me how to do bills and stuff on a Saturday.
Oh, you've talked to me about that. So that's when you guys did it.
Yeah, he would go talk to me about bills, and then we would go from there. We would get up early, do that on a Saturday. Then we would leave and go to my grandmother's house in LA, and then we would go do her bills, and then we would go to like Olivera Street, go pick us up some taquitos. Man, those are the best taquitos. Even till this day, I think they still have it. And then we would go pick out like our little Saturday morning like dress for church, and like I would have all my little foo dresses and stuff like that.
Wow. Saturdays were actually fun,
Productive.
I guess, when you had a full family and siblings.
We did.
Because it was just me.
What'd you do?
That's why I was like, I didn't do none of that.
What were you, like a loner?
Yeah.
Dang.
I had no friends. It was just me. I'm only child.
It sucks being an only child sometimes, huh?
No, it was cool. I was chilling.
Really?
That's why I asked you. I'm like, what do your Saturday mornings look like? I was chilling.
So what were your Saturday mornings?
I was watching Saturday morning cartoons and eating cereal.
Yeah?
Yeah, Animaniacs, chilling. Pinky and the Brain.
But that wasn't during the week?
No, I thought that was Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. And then what'd you do after that?
Yeah, nothing. I had no friends. It was just me.
You didn't go outside and play?
Did I go outside and play? I think, you know what? But you also got to remember, I was raised in Hesperia.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hot in the summer.
It is.
So we're not going outside. But you know what? I do remember I had one friend who lived across the street from me. And we would, when it got cool enough, we would ride bikes, and we would ride our bikes around the neighborhood. And actually something that, and I think this is probably why I love the desert so much, because there was a lot at the corner of our house,
mm-hmm.
and somebody had turned it into like a bike track. So when you entered the corner, it would be like a tabletop, and then it was a full loop of just jumps and dips, and like, so that's what we did. We would ride our bikes up there, and then we would time ourselves, and we would just ride as fast as we can around it, jumps and everything. It was actually pretty sick.
I did that too. I did have that. Like, we had that, like, because where I lived at the end of, like,
Oh, in the middle
in
of
the
nowhere?
Bowie in Moreno Valley.
Yeah.
We had that. We had, like, a little bike trail, and that would be fun. Now, I did do that on a Saturday, and I would do that with my neighbors. Like, I would be out all day, like, when we weren't doing the other stuff. We would still have to do Saturday morning cleanup, though. We gotta clean up before we go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And now today, it's just, it's Bluey, a lot of Bluey.
Man.
A lot of
Bluey
I can rock
stays
with Bluey.
on our house.
I can rock with Bluey.
I can rock with Bluey.
Bandit's my
I feel
guy.
seen in Bluey.
Oh, incredibly.
Like, don't you feel seen in Bluey? Because
Incredibly.
especially when you be looking at the back seat of the car.
Oh my God.
Man. And it be jacked up and you be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I get
if
it.
it wasn't for those all-weather mats, I think I would probably, I don't know what I would do. I'd cry.
I'd cry because our back seat be looking like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do
well, welcome.
Right.
We're here. Today, if you couldn't tell, especially with the shirt, dumbbells, deadlifts, and daughters, we want to, I think, just really talk about kids, raising kids, life after marriage, after kids, and bringing this into having a conversation about, like, well, just what is that children journey like? But for all of you guys who don't know, who may be new listeners and this is your first time, my name is Gage, and this is my lovely wife, Kimberly. We are the Helping Hendersons. The goal is just to come alongside people of every walk and stage of life, whether you're single, married, divorced, blended families. The goal is really to be intentional with supporting people in the walk of marriage and family. So, whether you're interested, not married yet, but interested, desiring to be married, that's our goal. That's our desire, is to reinstill the sanctity, which is the sacredness, the holiness of marriage, speaking from a real personal perspective of what we went through and things we've gone through, but also trying to include as much Bible as possible, because the Bible is God's living word that is true and proven today. And so we believe everything you need is in there.
Yep.
Just applying the principles to whatever stage of life you're in, really. So that's who we are. That's what this is. And today we're just going to talk about marriage after kids.
Whew. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that little segue?
I did.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're.
But I think that's what I want to make today. Like, I really hope this is a fun. A fun recording.
Because it has really been fun. Like, I would say that it's been fun being parenting and, like, going through this, because I remember the first time that I was, a parent. I was a single mom for, like, probably, like, I think when everything, probably like 10 years, maybe longer or less than that. And I remember that for me, that was like, I was always having to, like, work and do stuff by myself. And, like, it was like a hard situation being a single mom. Like, for me, like, everything relied and fell and like on me. And I would say that when we got married and then we found out we were pregnant with Giovanna and had Gigi, like, it's just been fun. Like, our house is fun. Like,
oh man,
like, our kids are hilarious. Our daughters crack us up. Gigi is no joke. And then Genesis, like, is like the little Mighty Mouse, what we call her.
Yeah.
And, like, honestly, like, it's just been such a good, fun journey being mom and dad. But it's like we had to, like, find our rhythm, though, back, because there was, like, I think that because we have so much fun, there was also points of where it's like, hold on, wait. Like, we have to take a minute and, like, remember that, hey, it's you and I.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you and I, and not forgetting that. And so, like,
well, and I noticed that the points in our marriage when because I feel like it's easy to get lost in your kids. it's easy to get lost in, and it's funny, whereas we're recording this, so my mom,
I
she
feel like
helps,
that's
that
definitely
was Gigi.
Gigi.
That was Gigi ringing the doorbell. That's what that was. So we're like, "What?"
That was Gigi shut it
Right
all the
on
way
cue, and that
down.
is our
Yep,
like,
that's
that's the
our
fun.
daughter. Like
Like, it's right on cue, she gonna
and
make
she's still
herself
ringing the
known.
door. Like
Yeah,
I
but,
Okay, go
wow,
ahead. That's
okay.
funny.
But, no, because I think, like, you have to do your best to, yes, make it fun, but also I've noticed the points and times when it wasn't fun or it was a work or a drudgery is when our only focus and prioritization was on the kids and the family.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
there are seasons of it. There's
Mhm.
times when you go back and forth, but what I'm talking about mostly is when everything was about the kids.
Yeah,
Everything's about what the family's doing, and there were never any points of, "Okay, let me babe, you wanna go on a date?
right.
Babe, like, can we just prioritize our conversation? Can we, like, just, hey, what do we wanna talk about? What do we wanna dream about? Like, let's write some goal," like, just stuff like that,
Yeah,
because I think it's easy for, and I'll say for me, it's easy for me to get lost in the family,
yeah.
mostly because I didn't have family growing up.
Mm.
Right, so I was single mother raised. My grandfather, who's not even my biological grandfather, but he married my grandmother. He stepped up, and then really because, and actually in hindsight, when I look at this, I realized that me and my mom we had places to stay, but we were essentially for a season like just always living with a family member. But he took us in and under his wing, and so being raised by a grandpa born in 1942, a single mom, and just me, you don't really have that core family dynamic.
Mm.
So today I'm like, I notice there's times I get stuck in like just wanting to give all to the family, give
Yeah,
all to my kids. And if I'm honest, I neglect my wife.
yeah,
But I neglect myself through neglecting my wife because there's needs that I have that only my wife can meet. And my kids, they can't meet it, nor are they responsible for
yeah,
meeting it.
yeah. So what would you say that those needs are?
Then well, I don't think I was ready for that.
Listen,
I thought you was just gonna give your response, but
no, you said it, so we going there.
okay. So, I mean, I think some of the needs that I am looking for is, I guess the only way I could term it is like being poured into,
Mm,
like having my resting space.
mhm,
'Cause it's not fair to make your kids your resting space.
mhm,
I think a lot of parents do that, whether intentionally, unintentionally, is they go to their kids to be their comfort when you're
mhm.
supposed to be the comfort for your kids.
Yeah.
And this is when we get a lot of, like, unhealthy behaviors within kids because kids become caretakers very early. They
Mm,
become feeling as though they're responsible for their parents or tending to their parents very early because what the parents have done for them
mm,
or done to the roles that their parents have put them in. And so we combat that by having a healthier marriage
mhm.
so that when I'm depleted, it's, "Hey, babe, I just need to lay on your chest real quick. I
Yeah.
just babe, and I do this. I'll just come home like, "Can you just hold me?"
Yeah, you'll be like, "Can you just hold me?" And then I have to instead of being like, "No," because that's like what like I
Like,
would say
"Fine."
right, like I would say because I didn't grow up seeing a lot of affection in my household.
Mhm.
But I would say as a child, I was very affectionate. So, like, learning how to, like, now do that in such a healthy way with you in front of our kids is, like, playing out, like, what that looks like. So,
Yeah.
like, when instead of, like, when you'd be like, "Can you just hold me?" I'd be like, "Yep." And now I, like, totally receive, like, you and I just hold you, I'll rub your back, I'll put my
Mhm.
fingers through your hair, and even allowing that healthiness to even be seen in front of our girls.
Yeah, it's so imperative for them
Yeah.
because, I mean, they need to know and see what I think more than just what a healthy marriage looks like, just what healthy interactions
Mhm.
look like, especially between husband and wife, like, or just, that and especially I think because I'm raising daughters,
Yeah.
showing them what a healthy man will look like.
Yes. That's so good.
Showing them that it is healthy for a man, and normal for a wife to hold her husband and for her husband to be held. And
Mhm.
because really it's like, even if you weren't sitting down at that time when I'm walking through the door
Mhm.
and we do this, babe, I just need a hug.
Yeah.
And so we just embrace each other.
Yep.
Because for us men, when we're out working all day, regardless, I'm in the helping profession. Other people listen to this, may be blue collars, they may be, executives, wherever you're at, you're still pouring out and leading throughout the entire day.
100%.
And then now, when I remember talking to one of my coworkers when I was at the group home, we would have this conversation about like, we clock out here, but we immediately clock in to being dads and
Yeah.
husbands and dads. And so it's like, you don't really have this time to clock out, or, I mean, if you're a good husband and a
Yeah.
good dad,
Yeah.
you don't have a time to clock out or check out. So, but acknowledging, hey, as soon as I step in the door, I think I just need an embrace from my wife.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I love, that that's something that we've learned to do, and that we've learned to truly be able to be at a position of where we now begin to recognize the healthiness of that. Even just like you said, like, it'll be a moment when you walk in the door or I walk in the door, and I can see, like, from that moment where I'm kind of like reading you and I'm like, okay, he's had a rough day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so let me hug him, let me love on him. And then in this moment, even trying to like say, hey, you know what? We might need to give daddy a second.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, can I go in and change? Or can I, where instead of like, I just come at you like with a million things that I had going on, or like trying to talk to you about everything, and, just giving you a second to just be like, hey, let me decompress. But then what you do really well is you come back and you check back in.
Yeah.
And like, I love that we see that, because our girls will ask for you sometimes, and I'll be hurting my feelings. I'll be like, Gigi, like Genesis or Gigi be like,
I'm the cool
even
parent.
even Michaela, they'll be like, where's dad? And dad. And I'll be like, hello.
Because I
Like,
bring the fun.
right. And so so I'd be like, just having these moments of where it's just like, like them seeing what this really looks like. Even sometimes even having healthy conflict. Because
Yeah.
I think that there's some times where like you'll say something and I'll be like, hey, I don't like that you said that. And like, or how you said that, you don't have to say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have like this kind of like dialogue throughout it with the girls, where they would see and then be like, ooh,
Yeah.
and like kind of redirect like how you have come at me, and you'll be like, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have said it that way.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry I snapped.
But to be honest, it wasn't always like that.
No. Mm-mm.
Like, I remember there was a time when Gigi started going to preschool.
Mm.
And and then now, so she's new, interacting and engaging with like, other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's experiencing conflict with other kids.
Yeah.
And so things would happen at school. They would tell us about it. We would try to have conversations with her, and, hey, like, hey, make sure you say sorry. Hey, Gigi, come say sorry.
Mm.
Or even to us, hey, say sorry to mommy, say sorry to daddy. And she just would not say sorry for the life of her.
Yeah.
And I think in my reflection time and my prayer time, I'm like trying to figure out, like, why does my daughter not apologize?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is that such a hard thing for her to just to be like, hey, my bad. Like, I'm sorry, mommy, and move on. Because it wasn't even to us.
Yeah.
Like, she for sure wasn't doing it to her teacher.
Yeah.
But
Right.
she also wasn't doing it to either of us at home. And I'm like, I'm really struggling with like trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my prayer time, like the Holy Spirit was like, Gage, how well do you apologize?
Ooh,
And I was just floored.
that's good.
Because it just showed me like, oh, the exampleship is more than just, simple routines in the house. The exampleship goes down from our communication to how we reconcile in conflict, how we have conflict. Heck, even yeah. Oh, not Jenny.
Who did it?
Yeah, I know somebody did. She gonna be right there. But even like to seeing like the example of like, because I work out in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll even want to like pull out the mat and start doing push-ups and squats
Yeah.
because they see daddy do it. But the more they see daddy apologize,
Yeah.
the more they see daddy acknowledge that he gets it wrong, the better they've become
Yeah.
at apologizing and getting it wrong
I
and bouncing
love
back.
I love that you said that. So I'm not going to leave you hanging in that correction of like how we conduct ourselves in our marriage and like what the exampleship that we have in front of like our kids is because I remember like again where I know that we've talked about it in our communication podcast where I was like, I can have a sharp tongue.
Mm-hmm,
And I remember like one day I had said something under my breath. Like something like, "Oh, you get on my nerves," or something I said. And I'll never forget that Gigi responded and was like, "Is daddy getting on your nerves?" And ooh, that crushed my whole life.
Mm.
And she had said something to you, like, I don't know what she said, but she said something to you. And when she had said it to you, it wrecked me because I became very conscious of what I do, what I say, how I conduct myself is not even going to just have an impact of how they treat you, but I became responsible for how they will play this out in their future lives.
Yeah.
How they will be a wife to somebody one day. How they are going to be a friend to someone. All of these different things that I'm like seeing, like how they will be an employee, how just who they will be as an adult.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want my future son-in-law having to bout or deal with the ramifications of me not checking my heart and humbling myself
Oh yeah.
to then say, okay, hold on. I don't want this for my daughters. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I remember that checked me on how in that moment, like having that come to Jesus moment where I was like, I gotta change this, how I act, how I talk, how I react, what they see and what I don't see, what they see and what they don't see. All of these things are gonna play out in their future later on.
Mm-hmm,
and I became like, gotta get that together.
Yeah.
Like, you're not the only one who was like, I'm raising daughters.
Yeah.
And I'm not just raising any type of daughters. We are very intentional about how we are raising our children. And 100% that intentionality means that every single thing that like I like is happening in our lives, like it's with purpose. It's like we're not just doing it just to say that we're doing it, but it's because I'm thinking about the future generations of our children. I'm thinking about their well-being. I'm thinking about all of that. And so when I do that, I had to get that together.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I hated when she said that. Like that hurt my heart. And I remember looking at you and you were like, see, that's what like what you said.
I done told you.
I done told you. Now look. And I was just like, you right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But it's but I think like the principle for this is, especially for those who are married and, even if you have kids, it's just, I think like if you already have, your children are here and you're trying to find the best way to raise them and teach them and guide them, the best way that you raise and teach them, even Proverbs says, train the child up in the way that they should go. So when they get older, they won't depart from it. The best way that I've ever experienced training in my years of playing football was watching the guy in front of me.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. And let me help people with this, because it's not comparing.
No.
I'm not comparing what they're doing to what I'm doing, but I'm saying that there is somebody who's, when I was on JV, there's somebody in varsity who already has the position and they're successful in the position. So I was an offensive lineman. And what would happen is you would have like multiple lines, right? So you have the first line, your center, 2 guards, tackle, and then after that they would do the second line, which was a center, 2 guards, and tackle. So essentially it was like the next man up in that position, best man will go to the next, fill the space if anyone goes down. But I remember distinctly as we would line up behind the people in front of us, they would, all right, ready, They'd get in their position, they get stance. I'm sitting there, I'm watching everything that person is doing. I'm watching them set their stance. I'm watching them, hinge their hips, squat down. I'm watching them put their hand to the ground. I'm looking at their balance. Are they overly forward? Because if a lineman is leaning forward, it's run. If I see him, so what they say is white knuckled or not. So if he's white knuckled and his hands are forward, all right, that's a run play. I expect the ball coming at me. If he's leaning back, he's gonna pass set. So how? Oh, okay, he has a nice balance. Okay, I need to find a nice balance in my set. I'm doing and then what's his first step? Okay, he's not false stepping. It's a quick jabs. It's this, and then his hands are. I'm watching everything he's doing in front of me because I know one day that's gonna be my seat. That's gonna be my position.
Well, it's the example shit.
And that's what I'm saying. So and I would say treating our kids like that.
Yeah.
They're behind you.
Yeah.
They're freshmen, they're JV, but they're watching varsity get it done.
Yeah.
And so now you in the seat of varsity as a parent, understanding that you training them is really setting the example for them.
100%. It's more about it's not about what I say. It's more about what I do that they're following.
Yeah.
Because I can tell them do this. However, I have to show them the way.
Because if I go to a personal trainer, my personal trainer is overweight and unhealthy. I
don't trust the trainer.
I'm not picking that trainer.
I'm not right.
You can't train me.
Right. And so that's one thing that is extremely important. But I would even like to say too, kind of going and taking a step back, is that yes, we're training the kids, yet also understanding that the priority does start with making sure that you and I are healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you're saying not picking the trainer, you know what I mean? How do we as a married couple make sure that we are healthy?
Yeah.
Because like you said, we can get so caught up in our kids, which we do and have 100% been guilty of it, but making sure that we prioritize each other. Because oddly or not, right? I remember when we first had Giovanna. Okay. And we were first, had Giovanna. There were some changes even within me that took place that we had to kind of overcome. So I remember we had Giovanna. I was obviously pregnant. During our pregnancy, there were a lot of, I would say, just challenges that we dealt with as far as during the first 2 trimesters of Giovanna.
Yeah.
One of them being that I was pregnant, and when we were pregnant, we found out that we were pregnant with twins. And I know. Okay. We were pregnant with twins, and when we were pregnant with twins, I remember we didn't know initially. It was one day that we were at the house, and I just started bleeding.
Yeah.
And we ran out of the door, literally kind of just panicked, ran out the door. We went and showed up at Kaiser. When we get there and discover in that moment, go through all the testing, because I just thought I was losing the baby. And so I go there, the guy does the ultrasound, the doctor comes back and he tells me oh, you guys are pregnant with twins. And I was like, come excuse me?
I know we was trying, man. I know we was trying.
Right. So I'm literally telling him hey, you go back and check.
Yeah.
And you tripping. You need to go back and check. The twins don't run in my family. But because I was I was
go ahead and say it. that geriatric pregnancy.
That geriatric pregnancy. You drop more eggs. And so it was actually very possible that I was pregnant with twins, and I was. And so I remember we have found out during that whole situation, and afterwards, I remember the nurses coming out and peeping as I tell you that we had twins.
Yeah.
And during that time, I remember kind of going through that, and it was still early on in my pregnancy. What we now later come to understand is that we were losing one of our babies. Yeah. So I lost one of our twins, and we carried on.
He or she never developed.
Yeah, and we carried on with Giovanna. But throughout the entire pregnancy, we would go for an ultrasound. And
Well, I couldn't be there. It was COVID.
no, remember we went to the 3D or 4D spot.
Yeah, but that was after, like, I'm already feeling the kicks and...
Right, but what I'm saying is we still went there.
Yeah.
And remember, they would still see the sack of the other baby. And they would always ask us, like, oh, you guys have twins? And they would be like, no, we didn't. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because we were going through a lot of emotional things during pregnancy.
You know what's crazy? Like, as you're sharing that,
Mhm.
I'm realizing there's so much that happened that I think my brain just, like, nixed.
Yeah.
Because that was extremely... Like, I remember to this day the excitement of finding out we had twins. Because I always wanted twins.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we would say it all
we
the
would,
time.
yeah.
Like, to the point we almost got shocked that, like, what the heck? Like, Lord, you heard our cry? Because we were like, yeah, we just want to get pregnant with twins to be one and done.
Yeah, call it a day.
And then it happened, and we were like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah. But then I remember having to go through the process of I'm thinking back of feeling so helpless because your body was passing throughout the entire, probably throughout maybe the first trimester.
2 months,
Yeah,
it was like for the first, like, the finalization of the first trimester going into the second.
Because if I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the passing, but I also remember you cramping, and we were so concerned about our fetus with the fetal pole because we didn't know how that would impact. And so that was just a really, it was really hard to enjoy anything until we got maybe to like month 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because of just how emotional it was, and it was like heartbreaking yet joyous, and having to not like, okay, did I do anything? Did we do anything? Like, because I remember, and I think we literally just had this conversation the other day. And I think it's so healthy for us to, like, even as we're having children, prioritizing ourselves and making sure we're communicating where our hearts are at when our hearts are there.
Yeah.
Because I just had to shoot you a quick text and say, hey, I've been carrying this shame since Gigi.
Yeah.
And I was excited to have twins, but in that moment I was also scared because I didn't know how we would financially provide or stretch ourselves for 2 kids at the same time.
Yeah.
And then telling you, I felt so much shame because I feel like we lost our baby because of me.
Yeah.
Because of my mindset or because of just what I maybe unintentionally willed, or you know what I mean? Just,
yeah.
And it's maybe just an irrational thought.
For sure.
But I just had to be honest with where I was at that time and how us having children are currently impacting us in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Because in the moment back then, having to support you, but there's nothing I can do with what your body is naturally going through.
100%.
Except other than just pray and believe God that we're going to still have a healthy baby girl.
Yeah.
While for me, like 5 years removed, right? Almost 5 years removed, like, okay, Gage, you're still struggling with something that happened all this time ago.
Yeah.
How are you now reconciling that as a dad?
That's deep.
How are you now reconciling that as a husband?
Yeah. And I remember even just kind of going through that season with you, because there was a lot of, like, not just emotional changes, but then also physical changes that we had to go through, because it was also like, our sex life had changed. Like, it was like we were afraid. Oh gosh, why are you laughing?
Pregnant sex is wild. Pregnant sex is wild. I just remember being there. I'm like, that's my daughter. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah, really. No, seriously.
I was like
having a breakdown.
And then what made it worse was like your drive increased in the 3rd trimester, but you're already like waddling around at that. I'm like, that's like, I see her foot. Like, I don't know what you want me to do.
By the way, everybody, he did not see her foot, but that's literally what we were
like. But it's just like the night before she was kicking my hand, and then now we want to get it. Like,
it was weird for him.
And for some people, look, I've talked to a lot of like married couple men, and they're like, no, like, that's a part, like, this is a part of
Yeah.
it. They enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like, because like you can still 100% enjoy sex
Oh, for sure.
while pregnant. Like,
It
and
was
I think
great for
it's
me.
great.
Like,
And
it's real because your sex drive does increase.
it did. And
Fun.
yeah, so
But it's weird. It's weird.
it was weird. It was
You
weird,
go
bro.
through like
It was
you
weird.
go through changes though. Like you do. And I remember even like so that would happen and then we went from an increased sex drive to now we have our baby and now it's like
And now we're dealing with the afterbirth. You got a
yeah.
whole, I'm not gonna put all your business out there, but
Yeah.
sorry.
Come on.
But that was a whole wild thing in itself. And
But it changed our sex life because then at that point I became very insecure about like how I
yeah.
looked and my body and things like
Hmm.
that and having to navigate having that conversation. Like I remember you talking about that with me and like you were like, "Listen," and I was like, "You know, it's not you. Like it's not you, it's me." But not but like really having a dialogue about
Yeah.
that because truly it really was like, "No, I'm attracted to you. I love you." Like, you know, and you being like, I'm attracted to you. Like, I just so you know, I don't really care, like, that we had a kid. Like, that was the most beautiful thing that you
Yeah.
could have ever given me. And you having to really navigate that through with me about it. But you were patient all at the same time because you knew what we had just went through.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only what we went through of just like, losing a twin and then having to make sure that Gigi is safe and protected as possible. And then my first pregnancy
Hmm.
experience, and then watching the whole thing happen. Cause I was like, I need to see what goes on in here. Like, I'm not going to get too many other opportunities to see
Hmm.
this. And then even when it happened, they're like, hey, can you hold this leg? I was like, yeah, sure. And then like, she just popped right out. I was like, oh, cool. Like, Blue 42, hut. And
Oh, God.
literally, it was like
It really was.
it
It was like
was
three pushes
you
and
were
she
a
was out.
champ. You
Yeah.
were a champ. But
Thanks.
and then so watching all that just like I think for me gave me an immense amount of empathy because like these are um I don't necessarily think they're like they're scars,
Hmm.
but they're because they're not scars, but they're just these like I don't know a good word to use right now, but they're just these beautiful reminders
Hmm.
of just what the body did and what the body has gone through. And it kind of reminds me of like hieroglyphics, just the
Mm.
beauty and how they tell a story.
Mm.
Because I remember when you had Michaela,
Mhm.
I would look at your stomach and I was like, wow, like these are Michaela's,
Mhm.
And then we had Gigi, and I'm like, oh, look what Gigi did. And
Mhm.
then we had Genesis. I said, dang, they just.
They just keep coming.
they- but it was beautiful just to see like the body doing exactly what it needs to do, and just wanting
Yeah.
you to know, like, regardless of what happens, like you are still beautiful, you are still
Yeah.
loved, you are still valuable and worthy, and but also knowing that that's your journey you have to go through with your body experience,
Mhm.
because I knew at that time I had my own.
Mhm.
Like I remember telling you, I don't remember if it was before or after, but I came back and I was like, Kim, I just feel really soft right now.
Right.
Like, I just
You
don't.
did.
Yeah, because and for me it didn't make sense because for those of you guys who don't know, we have a 10-year age difference.
Yeah.
So you had Gigi, I think, at 36,
Yes.
and I was 26,
Yeah.
like 27. So I'm like, I should be like testosterone through the roof,
And yeah.
and I was like
It was estrogen through the
through the
roof.
roof, like I just.
But you had to go to the doctor.
And so, and then and then, so I was like, okay, something's off. This is not who I am. I've been an athlete my whole life. I've always had energy. I've always just been go, go, go. And so I got my testosterone checked, and they're like, yeah, no, you're in a normal range. I'm like, okay, hold on. How much is it? They're like low threes. I said, yeah, no, that's not going
Right.
to work for me.
Right.
So I, did my own studying, and then come to find out, I have to remember what it is, but, throughout the pregnancy, before and after, our wives, our spouse, the women are emitting hormone, a pheromone, that is actually making the home environment more of a nurturing environment, causing men's testosterone not to decrease necessarily, but the estrogen to increase, so that we can support in nurturing and caring for the baby once the baby gets here.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, that's perfect, like, while you're pregnant, but after you're pregnant, that's not gonna work for me.
Right. Right.
So, and in that study, as I continue to do more studying, I was like, okay, what can I do to offset this? For me,
Yeah.
you know me, I try to be as naturopathic as
Yeah,
possible. So I'm
100%.
like, I'm too young to take testosterone. That's not about to happen. I'm also part of a jujitsu community, so there's no secret that in the jujitsu community, a lot of guys are on like peptides, a lot of guys are on some sort of, PED, so performance enhancing drugs, like, if we're honest. And I'm like, I'm not doing that either because
Yeah,
I'm
you're
too
not on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm too young for that. So I was like, hey, what are some natural things I can do? And then I did my research. I was like, okay, so there's I was listening to an Andrew Huberman podcast. Renowned medical doctor, but he was talking about testosterone in men. And there's so what I started taking was, well, then also I had to realize what I do for work because I'm a therapist. So
Yeah.
I'm indoors all day. So I don't
Yeah.
get no vitamin D.
Mhm.
So it was a simple fix of a daily vitamin. I have
Yeah.
vitamin D and daily vitamin D, maca root, tanguk dali, ashwagandha, and then now I'm taking also um no, I think that's it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the maca,
Mhm.
tanguk. It was once I started taking the tanguk dali with the maca root,
Mhm.
that got me back to a level of like, okay, I have my, and really what it was, I just needed my energy back,
Yeah.
and I needed my ability to just be to really, yeah, just have that drive back. Because
Yeah.
I can even be admitted, like, or be honest, I think my sex drive dropped a bit
Mhm.
too. And not that I wasn't attracted to you, but it
Yeah.
just wasn't as like, hey babe, let's go.
Yeah.
Especially for like a young, I'm in my 20s.
What I would say, even the same thing though came for me as well, because obviously having a child and then now like children, you can get caught in like, I have to take care of the babies, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and like doing all of the things that you have to do and not prioritizing like you at all. Like it would be like, okay, well, no, I'm tired. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I did all day? I went from here, there, everywhere, and I had these babies, and you were very patient with it, but also I had to realize like, hey, there's not just me. I always have to make sure that we get to a place of where me and you are good. And me and you are good look like, hey, we have to, number one, find out some things that may be going on within our bodies. Like,
Yeah.
I had to check to see, my hormones. We need vitamins, people.
A lot
So
of
I
hormonal
had
changes.
some,
Yeah.
hormonal changes and like doing that. And then in addition to that, then now like really rediscovering and reclaiming like what our life is going to look like. Having date days. Like I remember like now we really set those things aside. Not necessarily where you have to understand that there's date days and then there's days that you have to prioritize you guys as a family. We have like our Friday nights. Like we get together, we cook something or we buy pizza, whatever we're doing that night, and then we'll come and we'll actually have like our family movie night. But there are times where it's like Saturdays where we have to go and be like, oh, I'm going to go out to dinner. We're going to get dressed up. We're going to
Yeah.
look cute. We're not going to talk about our kids tonight. And we're actually just going to talk about anything else other than them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
anything else other than them. And I remember us going to like Disneyland one time,
Oh
and it was
man.
like the best time ever
Yeah.
because we just got to date.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also like dates are highly important, and mostly because it allows us to really, I think, finally be thoughtful about each other.
Yeah.
Because you put so much thought into the family,
Mhm.
you put so much thought into your kids, you put so much thought into the home,
Mhm.
but even me sharing about like us sharing about our hormonal experiences and having to take our daily vitamins and find certain supplements that would help, just get our bodies back up to a healthier standpoint. That's us having the time to think about ourselves and not feeling selfish about it,
Yeah.
but understanding that thought process about myself is going to make me a better husband. It's going to
Right.
make me a better father. It's going to make a better wife, better mother, right? Because I'm taking, then once I think about myself, well, let me think about my partner and what they need.
Yeah.
I think sometimes like people in the community talk about um these date days, and it has to be every week, or it has to be no, it has to be a healthy rhythm for you.
Yeah.
What's a healthy rhythm for you within, like, some people aren't blessed like us to where my mom lives with us.
Yeah.
So all we have to do is put it on we have a joint calendar, and hey, mom, what are you doing this day? We talk about it. We put it on the calendar so she knows, okay, she's going to be watching the kids. We're going to be going on a date, and it's clear.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that experience where they have a supportive grandparent that can do that.
Or that they have a babysitter in general.
And I'll be honest, because a lot of times it's not safe to have everyone watch your kids.
You got to say that.
And sometimes you think leaving your kids with uncle, auntie, grandpa, grandma, whoever, so-and-so is actually safe because you just want to get away with your wife. But really, you might be doing more harm than good. So it is seasonal.
Or I even think sometimes like over prioritizing like your marriage to the point where your family falls through the crack, because now it's like we're traveling, we're leaving, we're doing this, we're going, and we haven't prioritized us as a family unit either.
Yeah.
So it's like I think you said it best. There has to be like a healthy balance between the two. There has to be a healthy priority where I'm not missing out on the life of my family or my children because I'm also overly prioritizing, whether it be our marriage, prioritizing like trying to hang out with other people and friends and travel and doing that, where we forget that, hey, no, there's me and you that's centered, but there also is this family dynamic, but having a healthy balance where none of them gets neglected.
Exactly.
But you have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Not forgetting though just that your spouse does exist, because there is an investment that you will and should make. Because sometimes your spouse may be secretly like, you're like, why is my husband, and I'm saying this from the woman's side, you would have to speak to your side, but maybe like sometimes the husband, like he seems like he's jealous of the time that I'm spending with my kid, or with the new baby or something of that nature. And the reality is, it's just because, like, you know what, maybe he misses you. Maybe he's feeling like a little bit neglected himself, and like he's trying to be sensitive, but then also he's like, but where's my time too? Because sometimes I think we can be overly caught up in wanting to be with the kids, or it can be the opposite side where maybe the husband has just checked out completely.
Yeah.
And he's like, he ain't doing nothing. He's not helping towards it. There's a secret resentment. Now the wife begins to feel where it's like, I'm always doing for the kids, and when you're here, you're not here. Or like you're always gone and you're not available, or any of those things. And now it's like, I feel like I'm doing this alone, but yet I'm doing this in a marriage. It can be flip side.
Yeah, no, it 100% can. And I think one thing I want to go back to is what's realistic for certain families.
Yeah.
As far as dating. There's one thing I do want to touch on, and I'll come back. But I think it's important because we said something that we're able to do is go to Disneyland, right? And have a date day there. And that's great for us.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I didn't have the ability to do that, I'd be in the listening seat and being like, well, gosh, so what do we do then? Because, we don't have the time or ability to get dressed up and go on, to the fancy restaurant. We don't have a time to go to Disneyland, so it's not really a date. And it's like, wait, no. What is it? What is realistic for you guys in that season? And sometimes something realistic is going to Cold Stone, getting a single cup, 2 spoons, and you guys just sharing that and enjoying them, making the best of it.
That's right. What does quality time look like for you?
Right?
Because honestly, it could be like going to a park and picking up sandwiches.
Yeah.
And just like having a picnic. It doesn't have to be elaborate.
No.
I think what it has to be is that it has to be prioritized and intentional. Like,
That's it.
it doesn't have to be anything major. It just has to be intentional. Because I think sometimes, again, we can be so caught up, and there could be so many reasons why, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Because even going back to, it could be something that there's, like you mentioned earlier and touched on this a little bit, like leaving your child with someone else isn't always the safest thing
Mm-hmm.
because maybe something that they have experienced in their childhood or something to that degree. So I get where it's like, okay, well, no, I put my child because of maybe something I've been through, and I want that avoidance because I don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And it's like, still, how would you even say or maybe meet to that? Like, how would you speak to that? Or what would we say to our listeners who are like, listen, but that I'm that person. Something has happened to me in my childhood. So now I'm so overly protective that I don't want to leave somebody with my child. And this is why I prioritize my child over my marriage.
Yeah, and I think it's twofold. Is like, I mean, first being realistic to what your experience is and your child's experience, right? Because those can be two completely different experiences.
Mhm.
And identifying if there is someone that you believe to be safe in your family dynamic. But honestly, sometimes if it's that triggering, then you're right, you just can't do it.
Mhm.
But if it's also one of those things where, hey, your child is going to school routinely, can you guys take a day off? And instead of having a night date, you do a day date. So you guys drop the kids off at school and, let's say, hey, we're going to schedule a Friday off in 2 weeks because we have PTO. Okay, schedule that Friday off. You guys take the kids to school. Kids are in school taken care of. And then from 9 to 1, you guys go to brunch, go down to the beach,
That's
take a quick
good.
walk, go over to a park and just have a quick picnic or go on a hike. And then by the time it's over, you come maybe go on a hike, go home, finally have some good sex, and then go get dressed and pick the kids up and have a nice Friday, right?
And I like that because sex during the day is just fine.
It's just fine. It's just like sex at night, just with more
Actually,
lights.
it's amazing.
But I do wanna go back to something you said, and I think you were talking about is like, and what I think you were mentioning was helpful for people to see when they need a date is, wait, am I noticing a jealousy in the time spent or not being had? Am I noticing that my partner is checking out, and what is checking out? They might not be checking out of the marriage, but
Yeah.
are they on their phone more often than they used to
That's
be?
good.
Are they trying to hurry up and, do all the honey-do list, do dishes, laundry, diapers, change, get everything fixed so that they can go to the garage or the man cave? What are those indicators? Because sometimes those are key indicators that are saying, "Hey, I think we need a marriage reset."
That's good.
Right? Because if every time I pass the baby off to you, I'm scrolling,
Yeah.
what is so hard for me to stay here and stay locked in?
Mm.
If I'm hurry up and trying to get this diaper done and hurry up and trying to speed through bath time instead of enjoying the bath and
Yeah.
spending time with my child and talking to them, cooing with them and playing with them during it, but I'm trying to speed fast and get all, because let's be honest, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I remember there were times I'm like, all right, 7:30. All right, come on, guys, we got bedtime, da da da, because I just wanted to hurry up and put them to bed and finally woo. Well, oh, hold on, Gage.
Yeah.
You need a marriage reset.
That's good.
So hey, babe, you know what we're gonna do? What are you doing next Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and this is legitimate next
Literally,
Friday.
yeah.
No, I think okay. So let's go. We're gonna take the kids. You're gonna go drop the girls off,
Mhm.
and then as soon as we drop the girls off, we're going on our date.
We are. Yep.
Right? Like, so we're gonna have our day, and then we're gonna come back, and I'm still trying to convince my mom to stay with them all night, but hey, we'll see where that goes. But we're gonna come back because I'm noticing, okay, I'm not giving, but do I have the self-awareness and noticing myself? Does my partner have
That's
the
good.
courage to, hey, babe, I'm noticing this within you?
Mhm.
Because that happens to us. We do check out,
Yeah.
or we're not necessarily as checked in as we like. So
Yeah. And I think it's something that you said because, like you said, does my spouse have the ability to tell me? Because I will say that we do that check and balance. Like, we'll be
Mhm.
like, "Hey, babe, you've been on your phone a little bit more, and, like, you're not doing anything, like, we're just mindlessly scrolling," and you're
Yeah.
like, "But I'm in the room." "No, but you're not
You're
present.
not
And
present.
so do we have the ability to have and hold each other accountable to those moments when that's happening? And I would say that when you're talking about that, like, finding the time frames to do stuff, I think that goes back to just that intentional time, but understanding I miss my spouse. I realize when we have made that intentional time, we planned it out, whatever the case may be, and we do connect. I feel the most connected to you as we have and make love. And it's not like, it's like, dang, I missed my husband. And like, it's a huge thing because it's really one of those things where we are becoming one. That's how we're worshiping. We're coming together. I feel most connected. I feel most vulnerable with you. And then it's kind of like when you said that marriage reset, it's kind of looking back like, wait, when's the last time that we had sex?
Mhm.
When's the last time that we, like, just, like, kissed? Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, and not a peck, but, like,
Like, I actually had a passionate
had a
kiss.
passionate moment
Because
amongst
for
each
some
other.
reason, we were doing it before we got married.
Right, because we had these babies, they got here somehow, but we forgot to do those things.
Yeah.
And I think it's
I
just
don't even think it's forgetting. I just think you kinda neglect it.
yeah,
I think you take it for granted.
that's good.
Like, because and I think um, it's because, like, the availability.
Mm,
Like, you ever notice it's like, that car that you've been wanting?
yeah,
You've been like, "Oh my gosh, like, I really want that car."
mhm.
And then you finally get the car you want, and you're just like, "Oh, yeah, it's just this."
Ooh, that hurt. But no, but for real,
Yeah, but,
you
like
forget.
you forget how precious it was to you, how much you desired it, how much you
Like, how much money you put aside and how much you were saving and
like,
how,
ha
like, when you first got the car, you were cleaning it every 5 minutes and you were making sure that it was, like, waxed appropriately.
Mhm.
You gotta
And
wax
really
that.
what I'm talking is, like, it's not
I said it. Don't forget to wax that. Like
praise God,
I
praise
know,
God.
but for real. It's for real. I'm being for real.
But I'm not talking about, like, the values decreased in it, just the
Yeah,
intentionality towards it
for
has
sure.
decreased in it. And so, yes, being intentional and waxing would take it back to
I
that
threw you all
level,
the way out
all the
the
way. I was like, "Oh, we just going
I
there."
didn't mean to, but it came
Okay,
out.
yeah, that's
But I
how
just think but I think it's like it's just truly showing I think it adds the value because as, like, things you know how they say, like, things get better? Like, "Dang, you're better, wine is
waxed.
better." No. You age like fine
Fine
wine
wine, yeah.
and not realizing it does get better over time. Once you value it, it becomes something that just like it becomes something that's enjoyable. Now, this is not for this
Mm,
podcast, but we can talk about there are maybe some challenges that come up in your life that could impact your ability to enjoy sex with your spouse because of things that may have happened prior
mhm.
to.
And, and especially what I will say for us, there's 2 things I wanna say real quick because, if we're transparent, we co-sleep.
Yes. We
So
gotta get these
and
kids
that
out the
was my
bed.
fault, I'll be
It was your
honest. That was
fault.
100% my
Because
fault.
I said, "Get these kids out these
I
beds."
just love my kids so
I
much, I want to
know,
hear 'em
but
cry. Anyway,
gosh.
so we
Anyway.
co-sleep, and so we finally got Gigi out of our bed, but I had to put her
One
bed
down,
next
two
to
to go.
ours.
Yeah.
So she's at least out of the bed,
Yeah.
and then now we're working on Genesis. But so let's be honest, that impacts because I'm sure couples have done a great job in starting their kids off early,
Yeah.
in the bassinet and getting up and walking to the other room and so forth. And you're able to still have a continuous sex life
Yeah.
because your kids aren't there. So for those who co-sleep like us,
Mhm.
then you're just having to be more intentional with that planned time
Yeah.
and those breaks that you do have. But I also want to acknowledge too is that I know we're talking a lot about like marriage after kids and kind of the things that you have to get in line after, you have the kids, but the encouragement is really how can you set yourself up for success before kids?
That's good.
Right? All right. are you guys having the conversations of, are we going to co-sleep or are we not going to co-sleep?
Yeah.
Are you already in a healthy rhythm of having date nights and planning dates? Like I know something that I've done with us in Apple Maps, you can have a shared map of interest space. So I have a map of local date nights just in the area. We have a map of date nights at the beach, so Newport, Huntington, etc., all the way down to San Diego, right? So there's just options so that when it can help us be a little bit more effortless in saying, hey, where do we want to go? What do we want to do?
Yeah.
Right. And even when it comes to parenting, is before you have the kids, heck, before you even married, are you currently operating as the type of parent that you want to be?
That's good.
So there's a lot, even if you're single, a lot of preparation that you can take and you can start living in for when.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if that's the goal, if that's the desire. Because there are some practical things you can do after, but for those who are engaged, dating, or, looking to get married, well, hey, because if you guys are both working, right? Well, then what do you guys do for day? Okay, so every day that every weekend we can go out or we do this. Okay, that's fine. Well, are you guys going out with friends?
Yeah.
Or are you going out by yourselves? Well, no, we typically go out for. Okay, what are you guys doing for yourself?
Right.
Because that's going to be very important. What's something realistic that's standing that you guys can do now?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a time once you have the kid, it's go, 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 go.
Yeah, it really is nonstop.
But if you guys can establish something in the interim that this is our day, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Once the kids come, well, you're not skipping a beat.
That's
because
good.
then something that we've done is if you do have the support system, for example, I mentioned my mom earlier, you then invite them in on the conversation so that they're prepared to help and support how they need to. And also communicating the importance of it. Hey, mom, these are your grandkids.
Yeah.
Like, we all want to give them the best and healthy experience, but I also think it's important. You're a pretty healthy, person and grandma. Like, I mean, you raised me, so I turned out fine. Like, so I want them to also have an experience with you.
Yeah.
But we also need to have an experience within ourselves to be as healthy as possible. And this is how we can partner within this.
Well, I love it because our family is because we're such a tight-knit family, my mother-in-law will be like, y'all need a date night. Like the kids,
she'll tell us.
Kids will be like, we need a date night. Like mommy and daddy, y'all gotta go. Like even Michaela, like they would get to the point where they're like, hey, I think you guys need some time with each other. I'll keep the kids and let that be something that we're able to prioritize. Like I can say, I think that even goes back to just, like you said, the conversation. Like, who are we inviting in? Our children are involved, to some degree, because we have a 19-year-old, so she is another alternative to watch our children.
Yeah.
It's also where, again, just inviting them into the conversation that they can see the healthy rhythms of what our family looks like, and really just, having a talk. I think that something that you said that was very good that we did before marriage is that we had a lot of tough conversations.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about, there wasn't anything that we didn't talk about. Down to our traumas, down to what are some of the, maybe what are our struggles, what are our secret sins. We talked about some very intense and intentional conversations. I keep saying intentional, and I hate to say that, but truly
but it has to be.
That
you
was
have kids now.
Right.
If your plan is to get married and have kids, you can't just, you don't just happen to raise kids.
Right.
That's how every time I've seen, especially in the field of marriage and family therapy, is whenever I've seen some sort of childhood trauma, some sort of neglect, it just happened. One thing, I was doing this, and then the next thing they said this, and then it's all reactionary.
Yeah.
And when you're intentional, you get rid of the reaction and you just have a better response because you're prepared for what is going to happen. Because something's going to happen.
100%.
But are you prepared for it when it does?
Yeah.
So we did have intentional conversations because it was like, hey, you want to be my wife?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, at this age, I experienced sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And so here's how it's impacted me in the past. Here's how it continues to impact me. And this is what I've done to work on it and through it. Can you accept that?
Yeah. That's a real conversation we
Because
had.
I've told you before, I was dating someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I told them, hey,
And they couldn't handle that.
and they couldn't handle it.
And that's fair.
And that's fine. But if I'm withholding that,
Mm-hmm.
now we get to a point of having our kids and no, they can't go with anyone. No one can watch. Well, but we just want, and now we're having an argument because I was never
brought into what actually happened or what may have caused that.
Exactly.
What was the root of that?
Exactly.
And I think that is something that's so healthy because we had like that we were that deep in our conversation.
Yeah.
And that, because for me, and the reason why that was important for me though is because in my previous marriage, I found out stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was like, dang, that's so unfair that I found out stuff afterwards where if you would have told me that up front, let me make the decision myself.
And am I secure in myself to be rejected?
That part. And I think, but that again, this is what we always go back to. Are we healed? Because that healing comes to a point where it didn't matter. And that's one thing that I will say that we did at the top of our marriage. We were very clear that at any given point, number one, we protected not just ourselves, we protected ourselves from each other, but we also protected, like, if you are not my husband, if you are not my wife, I have to protect that other person that is your wife and your husband.
Because that's another person.
Because
those are other kids.
Yes.
That's a whole nother life.
That's a whole nother life. And so we were very intent in how we protected each other as God continued to reveal who we were in each other's lives, that we were to be married, all of those different things. But we were very conscious of protecting our future selves through and through.
And by protecting our future selves, we protected our future children. Because healed parents raised whole children.
Come on. Dang. That's
because if you're not healed and pieces of you are missing, when you have your kids, you're taking pieces of them. And then now you're wondering why your kids are acting out in school, while they're disrespecting other people, why they don't have any respect or value from themselves, because the very pieces that you needed, you just took from them.
Man, that's a drop the mic. But for real, but again, that conversation. So I would encourage anybody that's listening right now, maybe you have to take a moment to what conversations maybe do you need to ignite? Maybe you're in a situation where you are maybe engaged and you realize maybe our conversations are a little surface. You might need to get to those deep rooted conversations. Get deep. Don't hold back. If this is supposed to be someone who's supposed to be your future spouse, let's talk about all of these things. So that way, like you said, we can go into it aware of what our future children are going to look like. How would this impact them if we don't have the conversation? And how will this impact them if we do? Because all of it has something to do with that. Sexual traumas that impacted how me and you made love. Like, real talk. I don't want to go into that just in this one because we will get to that when we have to talk about it, but it really did hold back because how I felt and used my body as a way of thinking that was love. But it would be something that even as life, as marriage and after having babies and things like that, you really showed me that, hey, I love you regardless of what you look like.
But it also impacted, because of what I went through, I was able to come in and ask you, because it's not my place, it's not my role, and there's even conversations that we're gonna have with Gigi and Genesis that I just can't have, and and some that I will be able to have because I'm actually their dad. But I told you, I said, hey, have you talked to Michaela about this stuff?
Yeah.
Well, no, she's only 12. She's only this. I said, Kim,
you have to talk to Michaela about these things.
Like, do you remember middle school? Because I remember middle school, and I went to a Christian middle school.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. But you really did open my eyes to that, to have some very real conversations with our daughter, because of those things that I thought, like, it wasn't talked about with me. And then I remember you challenging me, like, Kim, but do you want this to play out in her? Because you're avoiding the conversation. You know what I mean? So it opened up a lot. I feel like we have to stop on that note, because that's a good place to stop, because it is to talk about in the future. But this was good.
Yeah, I really just hope this my prayer for this episode is that, I mean, we kind of went all over the place, and I didn't really want to have a specific direction because we're talking about kids, and we're talking about our experiences within marriage, but what my prayer is that this episode ignited questions within yourself.
Yeah.
My prayer with this episode is that as it ignited questions within yourself, it's encouraging you and empowering you to have conversations,
Yeah.
intentional conversations with your partner. And so if you're single, start addressing those things right now today.
Yeah.
It's not too late, because you're going to prepare yourself for your partner. And if you're dating, if you are engaged, if you're married, now it's time for you to have the courage to bring some things out into the table.
Mm.
Because it's already impacting you guys in your relationship. It's already impacting your guys' conversation. It's already impacting how much you share and how much you don't share.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this is to hopefully put ourselves on display and say, hey, there's no place too deep.
Yeah.
Especially not for yourself, especially not for you within a relationship, and especially not for the type of children. Now, if you want to raise surface level children, stay surface level. That's fine.
Mm.
But if you want to raise children who are not afraid to go in deep waters and have the courage to survive them, you are going to have these conversations, no matter what they are. So, pray this was a blessing. I pray this was an encouragement.
Yeah.
And we just hope that, wherever you're at in your journey of marriage and family, that God continue to be with you and he continue to keep you. Take care.
Love y'all.